What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it is time to give you my 2024 way too early SEC football power rankings. Yes, way too early 2024 power rankings. We are now looking ahead to the 2024 college football season. Yesterday, I did my way too early top 25. If you have not seen that video, be sure to go back and check it out right here on the channel. But now we're going to be doing some power rankings for the conferences, the most important conferences, of course, for this upcoming season. Basically, like I said, it's way too early to be doing these types of videos, but we're going to do it anyways. So we're going to start with the SEC here. Later on today, I'm going to give you the Big Ten, and then, of course, tomorrow we'll do the Big 12 and ACC. So you're going to see two videos in one day for today and then two videos for tomorrow because we got other video suggestions. Got another video suggestion coming out on Friday, so stay tuned for that video. But let's get right into it here with my way too early 2024 SEC power rankings and how these power rankings are going to work. It's basically just based off of where the teams were from last year. And we got 16 teams now in the SEC, so let's get right into it here. We'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. We'll start here with number 16. Number 16 for me is Vanderbilt. I don't really know what to expect from Vanderbilt this year in 2024. Kind of early to tell right now, but this team was not very good last year, of course. They were one of the worst SEC teams last season. They were 2-10 last year. This Vanderbilt team just does not have the talent on the roster. And, the roster and, the talent, like I said, is just not there for this Vanderbilt team. It has just been very terrible for this Vanderbilt team in the SEC, of course, over the years. Now, in 2022, they went 5-7. A lot of Vanderbilt fans were pretty hyped at the season opener from last year, but that obviously just did not last very long. So I don't know what to expect from Vanderbilt. Again, the talent is just not there for them, and the recruiting is not really good for them either. So Vanderbilt, again, I think will be the worst team in the SEC in 2024. They're here at number 16 on these power rankings. Number 15 is going to be Arkansas. I know a lot of Arkansas fans won't be pretty happy about this, but based off of where they were last year, it was a very terrible season for Arkansas, going 4-8. It wasn't really just about the overall record. It's really just mainly because of the schedule that Arkansas has played in the last 2 years. And, of course, they did play in the SEC West in those 2 years, and that is really tough when you're playing against like Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M and all those teams in the SEC. Arkansas, though, again, coming off a very disappointing year last year. I don't know what to expect from Arkansas this year. We don't know what the roster looks like just yet for Arkansas. We do know that KJ Jefferson transferred away, of course. So Arkansas might be in trouble this year. We don't really know just yet. But like I said, these power rankings are based off of where the teams were from last season. So Arkansas here at number 15. Number 14 is Mississippi State. Another team I think has a lot of question marks going into 2024. They're going to have a new head coach this year. Things have not been really good for Mississippi State the last couple years. Will Rogers, of course, transferred away. He is now heading to Washington, I believe. So Mississippi State will lose him at quarterback. So they're going to have to go with a new quarterback. And like I said, a new head coach here for the Mississippi State Bulldogs in 2024. And again, this team and this program has not been in the right direction for the last couple years, ever since Mike Leach passed away. So yeah, Mississippi State, the roster, I don't really know what it's going to look like just yet. Kind of similar to Arkansas and, Vanderbilt and everything. And obviously Mississippi State's not really on the level of Georgia, Alabama, or any of these other teams in the SEC. So Mississippi State here at number 14 here in these power rankings. Number 13 is Florida. So Florida coming off a very disappointing year last year. They were 5-7. It really just wasn't about the record, kind of like similar to Arkansas. They played a pretty tough schedule last year, of course. Florida, their first 2 years under Coach Billy Napier have not been really good. 6-7 in his first year, 5-7 last year. They obviously brought Graham Mertz, the transfer from Wisconsin last year. Obviously, that did not really work out for this team. Graham Mertz, of course, got injured late in the season as well, so they had to go with a different quarterback. And overall, it was just a very disappointing year for this team. I don't know what the roster is going to look like. I don't think Florida is on the level, clearly, of Georgia and Alabama and any of these other teams in the SEC. Now, they did beat Tennessee last year, so maybe they're on the level of Tennessee still. I don't think they're quite on the level of Georgia and Alabama. I think it's going to take them some time once again to get back to that level. But this is a Florida football program that's just not been really good in the start of the 2020s. Now heading into 2024, like I said, I don't know what to expect from this Florida team. It is way too early to tell, but they're here at number 13 in these power rankings. Number 12 is South Carolina. South Carolina was also another team that's coming off a very disappointing season. They went 5-7. They will lose, of course, Spencer Rattler this year in 2024. He has now gone to the NFL draft. South Carolina going to have some questions at quarterback. I mean, I don't know what the running back's going to look like either. The defense, I don't know what's going to be looking like either as well. And like I said, it's way too early to be doing these types of videos. We don't know what the rosters look like just yet. And also, we don't know the NFL draft decisions either. So, again, Spencer Rattler is gone for South Carolina. And I was really surprised that South Carolina, a lot of people were choosing South Carolina last year to compete with Georgia and possibly challenge Georgia in the SEC East, which that did not play out the way, people were expecting. I wasn't really high on South Carolina last year. I mean, I did not have this team in my preseason top 25 last year either. So South Carolina here, we're kind of expecting maybe a turnaround season for them, but it's kind of too early to tell. Shane Beamer, of course, is the head coach. It's not been really bad years for him at South Carolina. He's, put them in bowl games a little bit. So South Carolina here at number 12 in these power rankings. Number 11 is Texas A&M. New head coach this year for the Texas A&M Aggies. They were coming off a pretty average type season last year. Obviously firing Jimbo Fisher in the middle of the season, or maybe like close to the end of the season. I think Texas A&M does have a lot of talent on this roster, but some of their guys did transfer away after Jimbo Fisher was, of course, fired. They did hire, the former Duke head coach. We'll see how he plays out here in the SEC. Texas A&M, it looks like the future was looking pretty bright for Jimbo Fisher in this Texas A&M program, but after I think another really bad season, like pretty average type season, I think that's what led to the firing of Jimbo Fisher and everything. Texas A&M, though, I've been very impressed with this team, in the last 3 years. They've been able to compete with Alabama and everything, so Texas A&M might not be a bad team in 2024, but again, this is a team that's going to have a new head coach. That's the reason why they're kind of, just outside the top 10 in these power rankings. So Texas A&M number 11 here in these power rankings for the way too early SEC power rankings. Number 10 is going to be the Auburn Tigers. Auburn's future is looking pretty bright with Hugh Freeze. This team was very competitive last year against Alabama in the Iron Bowl. We saw the competitiveness of this team later in the season. They brought in some transfers last year. They could do that once again this year. Hugh Freeze is a pretty good recruiter as well. So the future is definitely looking bright for the Tigers. I don't think they're quite on the level of Georgia, and also they're not quite on the level of those top teams in the SEC. They were actually very competitive against Georgia and Alabama, but they both had Georgia and Alabama at home. I think they're playing this time on the road against those teams, so that's going to be obviously a very tough thing here for this Auburn team. But as of right now, Auburn is looking pretty good. They have a bright future ahead of them, I believe, with Hugh Freeze. So Hugh Freeze here, again, has changed this Auburn program. Let's see what he does here in the second year for this Auburn football team. Auburn number 10 here on my power rankings. Number 9 is Kentucky, another team that's coming off a pretty average type season last year. Kentucky, the reason why they're kind of so high on this list is just because of what they added in the transfer portal so far. I did put this team in my top 25 yesterday. I know a lot of people did not agree with that. I think a lot of, fans were saying that Kentucky definitely deserves to not be ranked. But let's be honest, Kentucky does have some good transfers coming in, a couple pieces in the wide receiver position in the transfer portal. They got Brock Vanderbilt, the transfer from Georgia, coming over at quarterback. We'll see how well he can develop in this system for Kentucky on the offensive side of the football. They're going to lose Devin Leary and Ray Davis, obviously, but I don't think that will be a huge loss for this Kentucky team. I think they'll still be good at running the football, but I think this is more like a passing attack team now. They kind of focus on more of the passing game instead of the running game from last year. So Kentucky here at number 9. Number 8 is Tennessee. Tennessee coming off a little bit of a step-back year last year in 2023. They had that 11-win season in 2022, and then last year 9 wins. But freshman Nico looked pretty good. I can't really pronounce his last name, but Nico did look good in the Citrus Bowl. The future's looking pretty bright for Tennessee still. I think Tennessee might have a chance to make a playoff, a chance to make a playoff run this year. Like I said, it's way too early to tell. I still think Nico has a lot of time to develop as a quarterback. A lot of people think he's a Heisman candidate already, but I think he still has time even to develop, even though he only played one game of the 2023 season, only started one game as well. well. They're going to lose, some good running backs in Jabari Small and Jalen Wright in the backfield, but they got some pieces to fill there. I think the wide receiver position is going to be really good for Tennessee as well. This defense, showed us in the Citrus Bowl that there is some improvement to be made there on the defensive side of the football. But like I said, watch out for Tennessee to be like a top 10, top 15 type team. So Tennessee here at number 8. Number 7 is LSU. LSU obviously going to lose Jaden Daniels at quarterback, but I think that will be a huge loss for this LSU team. They're also going to lose their offensive coordinator. He has gone to Notre Dame, so that's a little bit of a change there in the offensive system. But we know how Brian Kelly is. He can really recruit pretty well. I think LSU is going to go after the transfer portal and everything. I think some players will enroll in the transfer portal to LSU. So I think Brian Kelly will start to recruit some players in the transfer portal. And obviously he's a pretty good recruiter. I still think LSU has what it takes to really compete with the top teams in the SEC. LSU here again losing Jaden Daniels, so we're going to see what the future looks like at quarterback for them. LSU at number 7 here on these power rankings. Number 6 is Oklahoma, a newcomer here in the SEC. Obviously, this will be their first year in the SEC in 2024. Oklahoma, I think, is still a top 15 team. Even though they are coming off like a really up and down season, they won 10 games last year. Obviously, no Dylan Gabriel coming into the new SEC conference schedule this year, but I still think Oklahoma has enough talent to where they can compete in the SEC regardless. I think this is still a really good recruiting type team as well. We have seen, like the Oklahoma head coach recruit at times pretty well. So I think Oklahoma is going to have a bright future ahead of them in the SEC. It probably will be tough in the first year, but we'll see what happens here. As based off of where they were last year, they're number 6 here in these power rankings. Let's go to number 5 now. Number 5 is Ole Miss, a team coming off an 11-win season last year. Jackson Dart back at quarterback for this Ole Miss team. They're going to lose their top running back, of course, Judkins. He is transferred away, which I was very surprised about that news. I'm really surprised that he has gone into the transfer portal. That was really a big running back of theirs from last year's team. When you look at this Ole Miss team, they're going to really obviously recruit in the transfer portal. We know how Lane Kiffin is when he really recruits in the transfer portal and everything. They should be a little bit improved on the defensive side of the football. They got some incoming transfers there on the defensive side of the football. Defense is a little bit concerned and everything, but I think Ole Miss will be fine on the offensive side of the football. They'll be really explosive on that offensive side of the football as well. And again, Jackson Dart is coming back. That's the reason why Ole Miss is really high in these power rankings and also based off of where they were last year. Number 4 is the Missouri Tigers. Missouri coming off an 11-win season as well last year. Missouri has a chance to probably be a college football playoff contender this upcoming year. Again, it's way too early to tell, but Missouri, it was a really good team last year. They're going to lose some key players on the defensive side of the football, but offensively they do return Brady Cook at quarterback, and they're also going to return their top wide receiver. This Missouri team is, in my opinion, a top 10, top 15 type team heading into this year. Eli Drinkwitz has done a really nice job. He did a really nice job this past season. We'll see if Missouri can, really kind of expect a really good year once again in 2024, like they did in 2023 with those 11 wins. And you lose your top running back, but Missouri should be pretty fine on the offensive side of the football. I don't really see any issues as of right now for the Tigers, but Missouri, the future is looking pretty bright for Eli Drinkwitz and that coaching staff. So Missouri here at number 4. The reason why they're here at number 4 is just because the way they finished last year. So Missouri here at number 4. Number 3 is the Texas Longhorns, also a newcomer here in the SEC, of course. They'll head to their first year in the SEC. Texas has a lot of talent to where they can compete in their first year in the SEC. We still don't know what the decision is for Quinn Ewers. Texas is going to have to really fill a lot of spots there on the defensive side of the football. And then for offensively, they're going to lose some running backs. They'll return, of course, maybe Quinn Ewers. Regardless who the quarterback is going to be, whether it's Arch Manning or Quinn Ewers, Texas overall should be a really talented team, especially on the offensive side of the football. I think defense will be fine as well because this Texas team does have the talent to compete with all the SEC teams next season in 2024. So Texas here at number 3. Here are my SEC Power Rankings. Let's go to number 2 now. Number 2 for me is Georgia. This team signs the number 1 recruiting class for 2024. I know Georgia should be at number 1 here on these Power Rankings. We'll talk about the team that is number 1 in just a little bit, but Georgia, based off of them missing the college football playoff last year, I have to put them here just right behind the team that's in front of them. But Georgia's going to have a lot of talent going into 2024. There's no question about it. Carson Beck will be back, of course. They do lose Dejon Edwards in the running back position, but Trevor Etienne, the transfer running back from Florida coming in, we'll see how well he can develop at the Georgia offensive system and everything. But like I said, Carson Beck will be back for this Georgia team, coming off a really good first year as a starting quarterback. So watch out for the Georgia Bulldogs. Again, they will be a dangerous team in 2024. And then we go to my number 1 team here, my SEC Power Rankings. And that number 1 team for me is obviously Alabama. They were ranked number 1 in my top 25 yesterday. I know a lot of people did not agree with that, when they saw the video and everything. Alabama, of course, being number 1 in my top 25. But the reason why I have Alabama here at number 1 is just because that, the fact they were really young last year. They made the college football playoff. And also Jalen Milroe, we saw how well he can develop as a quarterback. And like I said, I think Jalen Milroe is definitely a Heisman candidate already. It's kind of way too early to talk about that. But like I said, we are really getting ahead of ourselves here because we don't know what the roster is going to look like. Now, Alabama will, lose some key players on the offense. They will lose, some guys that enter the transfer portal, especially like Jace McClellan at running back. And they also will lose Jermaine Burton. He's gone to the NFL draft and everything. But like I said, we don't really know all the decisions yet for all these SEC teams. But again, Alabama is a team that was really young last year. I think this year they'll have that experience. And also I think with Jalen Milroe coming back, that definitely gives Alabama some confidence going into 2024. And also a chance to make the 12-team playoff as well. So Alabama here is my number 1 team in my SEC Power Rankings. Way too early SEC Power Rankings. And like I said, these SEC Power Rankings could change here by the time we get into the spring practice and everything, and after the spring games are completed as well. And we might change my number 1 pick to probably Georgia. It might be a tiebreaker between number 1, between Alabama and Georgia. But these are my 2024 way too early SEC football Power Rankings. Again, for the 2024 offseason. Again, it's way too early to be doing this, but we're doing it anyway. Let me guys know what you think about these SEC football Power Rankings down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.